Hey everybody, this is Atesh, and today we're going to do something I don't normally do on my channel. We're going to review the Studio Cabs Cali Oversized by Get Good Drums. So for those who don't know, GGD Studio Cabs Cali Oversized is a collection of IRs captured by Nolly and Rabea. These are IRs of vintage 30 speakers from a specific period of time, which are from late 90s to early 2000s, and it comes with its own IR reader. If you want to know more about the plugin in great detail, Nolly has a 3-part video with Rabea. He also has a chat with Kristian Kohle about vintage 30 speakers in general. I'll link both of those videos in the description. Now let's talk about the importance of the cab selection in your sound. I'm sure many of you have heard that the cab sound is the most important element in your guitar sound. I tend to agree. An IR is basically a very detailed EQ curve. I like to think of it as a restrictive zone. Whatever you send through it is going to have the same characteristics of the sound because you're confined with the same borders. Whereas if you change the IR, then you have a lot more difference in the sound. So for today's video, I'm going to review it in 2 ways. First, I'm going to load the plugin with the default setting, which is just a massive cab and an SM57. And we're going to go over some amps to see how they sound with this default setting. And then we're going to stick to one of those amps and change the settings in the GGD plugin and see what kind of results we get. All right, for this, I have a selection of amps. I have the Toneforge Misha Mansour, I have the Toneforge Menace, ML Sound Labs Amp Roots, the free version. I have the Overloud THU Slate Edition with the Mesa Rectifier loaded. I have the THU Rig Player with a Mesa loaded. I have the Ignite Amps Emissary. I have the LePou plugins, which we'll get to it later. Now, this one is the LE456. And I have the LePou Lecto. Now, first have a look at the mixer. So as you can see, I have these EQs going, and this is just to adjust the bass level before it hits the amp. And as you can see, I have this TSP1 Tyrant Screamer by Ignite Amps. Now, this used to be my favorite tube screamer type of pedal to drive the front of the amp. Now I don't use it anymore because I don't really need it as much as I did, because I can use the hex driver or the grind pedal from 14 Cali, which is my main amp these days. Or if I'm using the Toneforge Misha Mansour, I can use the precision drive. And then I have these amps loaded here, as you can see. Now we're going to go over them. For some of them, I have the noise gate post amp, and I have the GGD Studio Cabs, all with the same setting. I went ahead and adjusted the level. Okay, so this is my first channel, Toneforge Misha. These are my settings. I have the precision drive active, attack at 0, no drive, gate all the way up, tiny bit of brightness, and adequate level of volume. This is my amp settings. I'm using the 3rd amp in the first row. Bass is a little down, mids are a little up, high just at 50. I have the tight button all the way up, of course. I have some saturation and a tiny bit of purr. I didn't touch any of these settings, the presence and range and harmonics and compressor or the back of the amp. These are all just as they come. Okay, let's see how it sounds. All right, the next amp I have is the Toneforge Menace. I have this set up like this, mid all the way down, presence all the way up, because it was a little on the darker side. So let's see how it sounds. All right. I really like this because it's really kind of industrial and it blends so well with some of the settings. So for the sake of the argument, let's actually do this. I'm going to stand it to the right channel. I'm sending my Toneforge Misha to the left, and both are on now. So let's see how that sounds. I really like that. Oh, and my Tyrant Screamer is dialed this way. Now this is going to be set pretty much the same for all tracks. Sometimes tone is a little more, sweep is a little more, sometimes level is a little down. And the next amp I have is the ML Sound Lab Amp Roots free version. Now this is the Fluff Signature, which is a really actually wet and nice amp. I really like it. Sometimes it's not that easy to dial in a djenty tone, but yeah, these are my settings. Doesn't take a lot of gain to make it sound loaded and nice. Lows a little down. I have some mids going on. Highs a little down. Presence is almost in the middle. My cap section is off. My pedal board drive is off. Again, I'm using the Tyrant Screamer for that. Okay, so let's see how it sounds. Next up is the Overloud THU Slate Edition, and I just have this rectifier in here. In the modern setting, these are my settings, and this is how it sounds like. One thing to mention is, like, as you can see, I don't have any post EQ or anything, and my master EQ from here is turned off. That is intentional. I just want to see how it reacts. In this video, I'm not focusing on how it sounds in the mix. It's just the raw tones that we're getting just by using your regular setup, you know, a boost, an amp, and the cab. Okay, next amp, I have the Overloud THU Rig Player, and it's dialed in this way. You can have a look at the setup here. Obviously, the amp is turned on, cab is turned off, okay? I don't have anything else, but I do have the Tyrant Screamer dialed in this way. Let's see how it sounds. Not my favorite, but still you can hear that sounds very similar in ways. Next off, we have the Ignite Amps Emissary. I used this a lot before I got some nicer sounding plugins like the Neural DSP14 Cali, for example. It's a very detailed amp, and I actually kind of really like it. It's dialed in this way, and I have my Tyrant Screamer dialed in this way. Let's see how it sounds. And next off, I have a couple of LePou plugins. Some of you might remember these. These used to be somewhat decent options for free plugins. You know, models of famous amps. This looks like an angle. Let's see how it sounds. Needs a little more high end. This is how my Tyrant Screamer is set up. All right. This is also a great option for blending. All right. Next up, I have another LePou plugin, which is the LePou, which is obviously a rectifier. All right. This is how it sounds. Okay, this is also a great blend amp, but to be honest, any of these tones are good enough for me to use in a mix, considering they don't have any post effects on them like EQs or compressor or multiband compressor and all that. Okay, so I think my favorite is still the Toneforge Misha. So I'm going to stick with this and add another instance of the GGD Studio Cabs Cali. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the first one. First of all, let's go through the cabs a little bit with the SM57. So this was my massive. The upfront. Pick. Smooth. Detailed. And guttural. Okay, I'm gonna go back to my massive cab and let's go over the microphones. So we have 8 types of microphones, well 7 and the Fredman. We have a C414. And we have the KM184. Next off, we have the M160. MD421 2. And the other MD421. A ribbon mic, Royer 121. And we have the Fredman. I mean, all of these sounds are very, very usable, and I love them. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to default setting, which is the SM57. And let's hear it one more time as a reference. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add another cab. So we're gonna experiment with blending a little bit. I can't go over all the possible combinations, but it's gonna give you an idea. I'm gonna add the same cab and I'm gonna try different microphones first of all. What I hear in this, I don't think it needs anything, but if I had to add anything, I would actually go with the ribbon mic. Let's see how that sounds. Can be a little brighter. That's very nice. I'm gonna mute that. I'm gonna add the same cab. I'm gonna try something like the MD421. Now you have to compensate for the volume a little bit. And let's see a different cab in combination. I'm gonna clear these out. I'm gonna add the detailed. It has a nice top end. It sounds a little bit more modern in my opinion. So I'm gonna experiment with that. First of all with an SM57. That is just great. That's gonna work so well in the mix. But let's experiment with another mic selection. Let's try the other MD421. Maybe a little brighter. I don't like it as much. Let's see a ribbon with this. Still on the brighter side. This sounds better for open chords and stuff. I actually like the SM57 better. A little too bright. And let's try one thing. So what I like doing is keeping the default setting for both left and right and experiment with the secondary choices. So let's see how that works. So I'm gonna go ahead and duplicate this. And I'm gonna pan this to the left, pan this to the right. Gonna go ahead and change the cab to maybe like say guttural, keeping the SM57. So this is how it sounds. That's nice, but maybe we can try also a different mic here, like the first MD421. That's just great. One more thing I want to do is actually see how these will sound with melodies. I'm going to go ahead and dial in some delay and reverb. A little less. Dial in the reverb, also not a lot. Maybe a little smaller, a little less. And of course you would need to EQ this, but for our purpose now. I mean, that's just great. Well, let's see. With melodies, I also like using condenser microphones. You might want to dial a little darker tone maybe. So instead of using the dark and bright switches, I'm gonna turn the SM57 a little down. A little more volume. Great. Or what I can do is actually use 2 condenser microphones. It's just great. For the solos, I think my favorite would be the Massive. It's the best sounding cab, for my purposes anyway. So what I want to do is, like, maybe I need a little more creaminess and maybe a little bit more low end. So I'm just gonna try the M160. What about the C414 here? So it's basically using 2 condenser microphones on the same cab. That's very nice. And of course, I would need to do other things for when I'm using it in the song. And maybe it's better if you choose the cabs during a mix or a production. Sometimes what I have the most difficulty in choosing a tone is just when I start. And after I start, if I have drums going on, if I have bass going on, I find it easier because you have a reference point. But for starting tones, I think this is an excellent plugin. And I also have to say, I don't have that much of a dedication to V30 sound as much as other people have. But from a producer's point of view, this is just excellent. Another good thing about this is, like, you can also load other IRs. I just never bothered, you know. I think these are just within this selection, you can have great options. All right, I just wanted to talk about this a little bit. I hope you liked it, and let me know which one was your favorite. Please like and comment and subscribe. And let me know if you want to hear this in a mix. And please let me know how you use it. I'm very curious about how people use the same tool differently. I'm more of a simple person. I don't really like to complicate things all that much. I don't want to go and like insert like 6 cabs with 6 different microphones. But I definitely like to experiment a little bit and get a rich sound. And this is an excellent way of doing that. Anyway, thanks for watching. Stay safe. Until next time.